The magic pen. Joe had just finished hanging his painting in the gallery. A feeling of overwhelm swept over him. Could life be any sweeter? As a new upcoming artist, having his art hung in the amazing gallery was a dream come true. Your lines and choices of colors are beautiful, the woman said softly. Joe spun around, not realizing he was sharing his moment with a stranger. Thank you, Joe replied. But they can be better, she continued. The look of surprise at her brazenness on Joe's face was enough to cause her to giggle. No need to take it offensive, Joe. We can all always be better. Joe's face softened. Are you an artist? How did you know my name? He asked. Of sorts, she responded. And it's there at the bottom of your painting. Hi, I'm Jeannie. Nice to meet you. Instead of shaking Joe's hand, she offered him a pen. The pen was strange, but very nice looking. Joe smiled. Presents already? Jeannie smiled back. Why, yes. This is a special pen, Joe, and I'd like to gift it to you. You know, to make your lines better. Your lifelines. Joe furrowed up his brow. Lifelines? Jeannie smiled and placed the pen in Joe's hands. She began to walk away, and Joe wondered heavily about the strange woman watching her leave. He looked down at the pen. Oh, Joe. Jeannie stopped. Joe looked up. I'll be back in 1 year for the pen. You will keep it for me. But heed this, Joe. What you create with this pen will be unlike anything you've ever created before. Create well, and create from your heart. That night, Joe's piece was a highlight at the gallery. His pencil drawing was so lifelike, one thought that they were staring at a picture. It sold for more than he'd expected. Joe reached home from the bar that he'd gone to celebrate after his gallery showing. He should have been beyond elated, but he couldn't escape the siren song the genie had sprung into his consciousness. Create well, and create from your heart. Joe picked up the pen in his drunken stupor and drew Jeannie. When he woke up the next morning, he groggily blinked and sat up and gasped. Jeannie was sitting at the edge of his bed. That was fast, Joe. I hadn't anticipated you using the pen for a few days, if at all. What the fuck are you doing here? How did you get in here? Joe was at a level just below a scream. Simple, Joe. You drew me. You called me. You drew me in your bedroom. That's how this pen works. Hence my admonition on creating well and from your heart. Joe blinked fast. Listen, ma'am, I suggest you leave. My sister-in-law is a good therapist, and I can probably recommend her number for you. Jeannie raised up from the edge of the bed and walked over to the table where the pen lay. I'm hungry, Jeannie said so calmly. Ma'am, Joe interrupted. Jeannie continued, what you'll soon realize, Mr. Joe, is that you have been blessed with the ability to manifest new outcomes. Jeannie picked up the pen and began to draw. Joe got out of bed and began to walk over to her, too curious not to watch what she was feverishly drawing. As soon as he got close, she stopped, and there was a knock at the door. Jeannie walked over to it and opened the door to find a delivery man standing there holding a basket of food, just as Jeannie had drawn. Joe's eyebrows furrowed, and he stood there trying to make sense of everything. Jeannie opened the basket and began to remove the food. So either I hired a man to show up exactly at this time to fool you, or I've offered you severe magic. Let's test it. Draw something, Joe. Draw us a car. I'd like to go to the beach. Draw us a red Corvette. Draw the keys, then draw us inside. Joe was very skeptical, but he drew. And soon as he was done, excitable Jeannie smiled. Let's go! Joe could barely keep up. They sprinted downstairs, and right in front of Joe's apartment steps was the Corvette he'd drawn. He knew so because of the details he'd purposely drawn. And inside were the keys. Jeannie jumped in the passenger seat, smiling. See? I told you. Joe really couldn't believe all of this. Wait! We should go draw some money. Jeannie paused. I don't think you should do that. Joe retorted. Why not? We can have everything we've ever wanted. The pen is meant to create better outcomes, Joe. The outcome isn't the money. The money is used for the outcome. But Joe's eyes glistened with thoughts of greed. Jeannie mouthed, I just wish I could make it 1 year, but you artists never listen. All that you could draw to affect this world, your world, and all you can see is money. I'll do you a solid, Joe. I'll warn you. Don't do that. Joe didn't listen. He couldn't even hear her by now. He ran upstairs. He picked up the pen and drew himself in a room with loads of money, piles of money everywhere. Jeannie walked through his door watching him. Oh, Joe, I warned you. Joe began to panic as he began to watch himself dematerialize. He screamed, What's happening? To which Jeannie responded, You'll get your wish now, Joe. Goodbye. He materialized in a room full of money, just as he had drawn. He swam in the money. He threw it all around, rubbed it all over his body for at least 10 minutes straight. Suddenly, he himself felt hungry. His mind flashed to all the things he wanted to buy. That's when he noticed there was no door. He hadn't drawn a door. He hadn't drawn the pen. Joe was trapped inside the living paper, inside the pen. He heard Jeannie's words in his head as he screamed in realization. Do not draw money. Draw the outcome. This is the warning, Joe. Jeannie was herself, in fact, a type of genie. And her wishes always came with a catch. The Magic Pen by the Word Witch.